Welcome back to my channel. If you're looking at this video right now, I'm getting ready to show you 4 mission critical elements that you need to implement in order to scale your business. And this is actually going to be a 4-part video series. In the process that I'm going to be breaking down over the next 4 videos, every mass movement, every big brand, and every highly successful business that you see online today, they all follow this process. In fact, this process I've used to help many different business owners create over $150 million online collectively across a number of niches and verticals. They all follow this process to scale their business. So this video, we're going to be covering step 1, but I want to explain to you real quick what I'm going to be covering over the next 4 videos. So in video 1, I'm going to show you how to create influence. So that way, whatever it is that you do, your product or service or solution, if you sell a transformation that can help somebody go from where they are now to the result that they want to get to, and you are the bridge between there, I'm going to show you how to create influence so that way you can build trust, build credibility, build authority, because that's what's needed to actually convert strangers at scale. Now, but it doesn't stop there. That's just video 1, and that's what I'm about to break down in this video. Now in video 2, once you have the influence, I want to make sure you understand how to identify a hungry market, because it doesn't matter how influential your brand is, if you're not speaking to a hungry market, a market that actually has a burning desire and has the pain points and the problems that your product or solution solves, it's not actually going to grow your business. So that's what we're going to be breaking down in video 2, how to actually identify your hungry market. Now, once you have that hungry market, which this brings me to video 3. So remember, we got influence in video 1, how to identify the hungry market in video 2, and then in video 3, I want to talk to you about how to ensure that your big idea, which is whatever the thing it is that you do, whatever the transformation, your product, your service, your solution, your software, your coaching, your consulting, your courses, whatever it is that you do, I want to make sure that you understand how to make sure that your big idea connects with that hungry market. So that's why in video 3, we're going to go over how to create your resonating message, because it doesn't matter how hungry the market is, if the message that you're communicating to them does not connect and resonate with that market, then again, you're not going to actually grow your business. So we got the influence, we got the hungry market, we got a resonating message where our big idea is going to actually connect with that hungry market. Then lastly, in video 4 of this 4-part video series, I want to talk to you about the most scalable form of media so that way you can scale to the masses. And again, this process has been implemented by many different businesses of many different walks of life, businesses that I've actually helped and worked with collectively generate over $150 million online. And like I mentioned, all of the top businesses that you see online today, they all follow the same proven process. So I highly encourage and recommend you watch all 4 videos. And in this video, we're about to dive in to building the influence. So let's go. Jumping right into main point 1, we got the influence. Now, there's so much that I want to talk to you about this topic, but I've compiled it to 8 core components that I'm going to be breaking down. And at the end of the day, somebody's got to do this. Whether you're the face of the brand or whether you're not the face of the brand, this element that I'm going to be breaking down, it has to be done by somebody. I've got businesses where I am the face. I've got businesses where I'm not the face. So let's jump right into it. And one thing that I do want to say is there's so many people that are out there, they're following some form of this. Some are doing it by accident. Some are doing it intentionally and they know what they're doing. I want to make sure that you know what you're doing, because like creating influence, this isn't like, yeah, the term influencer, you know, it floats around on the internet and people call themselves influencers, so forth and so on. That's all fine and all, but there's core things that need to be done to create influence, and it's not an accident when you go out and do it. Like, it is a formulaic process that's done. Whatever resonates with you, take it and implement it. Like if you're watching this, you're like, oh, I'm not feeling like that I have like all 8 core components ready to go. That's perfectly fine. If you end up having like, man, I got 5 of these and I'm ready to get moving on it, then get moving on it, right? So let's start with number 1, specialized knowledge. I have my definition here for you that I'll read, and then I'm gonna talk over a couple things. So people follow those who can solve their problems or provide a shortcut to success. Whether it's marketing, fitness, investing, or personal development, you need a depth of knowledge in your niche. And I'm gonna stop right here real quick, because if you're watching this video and you're like, I don't have any specialized knowledge, and you legitimately feel that you don't have specialized knowledge, I actually recommend you like stop watching this and go out and get specialized knowledge. But before you do that, I want to make sure that you're not undervaluing what you actually know. Because for example, sometimes people will feel that they have to know every single thing in their industry or in their niche. And here's a perspective that I want to make sure that you understand whenever I talk about specialized knowledge as a core component of this influence engine that we're talking about. If you're at, let's say, on a spectrum of A to Z, if you're at level D, and you're, Z being the farthest level, right? If you're at level D and your audience that you're speaking to is level A, and whatever the result that you're speaking to, you can help them go from A to your level D, then you have specialized knowledge at the level that you have specialized knowledge at. You just got to make sure that there is hungry market and demand for whatever the thing is that you're at your level D, and there's people that's looking to aspiring to get to that level D to determine, is it actually a viable opportunity for you? But at the end of the day, you have some form of experience and expertise that can be leveraged and sold to the mass market. So I want to say that, but then again, if you actually just don't have specialized knowledge at all, then you need to go get specialized knowledge. That's step one. You need to go out and learn a skill, whether it's like in both sides. I mean, whether we're talking about traditional specialized knowledge, which of course that's doctor, lawyer, accountant, dentist, that route. And then of course there's non-traditional specialized knowledge where there's so much information. Information is in abundance in today's age where you can literally learn whatever you want to do online. So go get specialized knowledge, go get expertise, go master something, and then this process that I'm breaking down actually can apply to you. All right. So back to the point of specialized knowledge. Like you want to be an authority in whatever it is that you do. You want to have you want to be able to create, because when it comes to specialized knowledge and when it comes to actually creating content, you want to be able to put out a content and a message to your ideal avatar, to your audience that actually shares and proves your competency in the thing that you do in your form of specialized knowledge. Like you got to have expertise, right? So that's like point one. I may come back and mention a few other things on the specialized knowledge topic, but that's step one, right? Now, next, we got compelling backstory. Your story should connect the dots between where you started and where you are today. The struggle, the lessons, the breakthroughs are what make people emotionally invested in your journey. So, for example, through your journey, like you started somewhere, right? When it comes to actually creating content and speaking to your hungry market, which remember, we're going to be breaking down that hungry market in video 2. But when it comes to actually being a face and putting yourself out there, you gotta, like, what's your backstory? Where did you start? How did you get to where you are? Like, people want to know like the actual journey, right? So sometimes people, like, there's a concept where people sometimes get on social media and they only talk about where they are now. Like, they don't talk about, like, how did you get there, right? You want to be able to, because that is something that is super duper relatable, especially like if you're speaking to somebody who potentially is in a situation where you used to be. Let's say, for example, I'm a real estate investor and I have 100 real estate doors, and maybe my path was I was doing the bird strategy, right? I was buying, renting, rehab, rinse, repeat, whatever the the bird strategy, and that's my thing, right? Well, if I got 100 doors, I didn't always have 100 doors. Like, where did you start? How was that? Talk to me about that. Intertwine your journey and your story within your content and all your ups and downs. And then you got to be willing to be vulnerable, which that's going to be one of the things, relatability and vulnerability, which we'll talk about that. So compelling backstory and relatability and vulnerability kind of go together, but I'm still just touching on this as far as like, just be willing and open to share your journey, right? So specialized knowledge, these are the main components of, the face of the big idea. And you will see how it all connects as we continue to talk through this. But specialized knowledge, that's what you need. You need a compelling backstory. You need to be okay and willing and open to talking about it. You don't got to be an open book, but you are your own media company at the end of the day. You decide what story, you create your own story. You decide what you want to share and put out on the internet, right? All right, next, I'm gonna come out of screen for this one real quick. You have to stand for something. So before we jump into this definition here that I'm gonna read off to you, is think about it this way. Like, a lot of times people struggle that's jumping into this space and are looking to actually create influence for themselves, for their brand, for their business. They struggle with like taking a hard line on something and potentially rubbing somebody the wrong way. So I want to lead with this. Your content, your message that you're putting out into the market, it's going to attract some people and it's going to repel some people if you're doing it right? You don't want to be like balanced. Like, you want to have a hard position on something. Like, what is your hard position? Like, what do you stand for? What is your mission of your brand? I give an example. Gary Vee. If you're watching this video, you know who Gary Vaynerchuk is. But one of the core things that, like, you probably, as you're listening to this, you probably can already be thinking, like, what is Gary Vee? Gary Vee is always talking about gratitude and patience and things like that, right? Like, he's gonna attract people that understand and respect that philosophy, but he's not gonna attract somebody that's like what do you mean, like, gratitude and patience? Like, although that is like a widespread thing, but there's some people where it's like Gary Vee's end all be all is that patience is everything. Like, that message may not resonate with somebody else who thinks otherwise, like, but he stands for something, right? There's a note, like, let me jump into this right here. So I'll put it up on the screen because I know I just came off screen. Your audience should know what you believe in and what you stand against. Having a clear stance, even if it's polarizing, creates loyalty and makes your message stronger. This could be a unique approach to your industry or a philosophy on success. Like, what's Gary Vee's philosophy? Gary's philosophy is like hard work and patience beats thinking you can get rich quick. Having gratitude and just, you're early, you got to be patient, like so forth and so on. Like, that's his mantra, right? So that's an example of a philosophy on success, or a rejection of outdated strategies. Now, I want to talk a little bit about even if it's polarizing, because, for example, going back to when we were talking about the real estate, let's say I'm the real estate expert, I got 100 doors, and if, let's say that my hardcore polarizing position is that the American dream or getting a mortgage is a scam, right? That would be something to where, like, that is polarizing, and you can say it that way and communicate it that way and be polarizing, or you can communicate it in a way that's more eloquent and not actually ruffle feathers in a polarizing way and say, like, you shouldn't buy a home, mortgages is a scam. That would be something that is polarizing, because you're literally going against the whole American dream of, like, and you're calling something that, you know, that's the American dream. People want to go become homeowners and so forth and so on and all of that. That would be an example of being polarizing, which you don't have to do. This process is still effective whether you choose to be polarizing or not. Now, I'm going to jump back into screen here. Relatability and vulnerability. So let's talk about this. Perfection is unrelatable. People don't just follow experts. They follow people they connect with on a deeper level. I think I'm going to switch it up and talk about a different type of industry here. Let's go to let's say that I'm a dentist, and I just opened up my local business, my local practice, my dentist, and I'm actually creating content. I'm a personal brand. I'm the face of my dentist practice, right? And I'm actually creating content, speaking to my audience's pain points. And let's say my main core service is implants, dental implants. So I'm speaking to an older audience that is in the field of looking to get dental implants, and, you know, all the different pain points and the reasons why they would get dental implants. So I speak to that in their content, right? I would actually create a bigger result and get more patients into my practice if I'm putting out content not only as that authoritative dentist that's just, you know, using all these big words and talking about all my procedures and science and all this mumbo jumbo that my audience may not understand, versus if I'm positioning myself as a regular, I still can educate my audience and provide value, because we always want to, back to the specialized knowledge, we do want to provide value. We do want to be able to provide insights that ultimately is like a shortcut to their transformation, because it can still be a shortcut if you expose somebody to your big idea, which we'll be talking more about that. But if we expose somebody to our idea, and our idea makes our audience have like a epiphany moment, like, okay, that connects for me, that's a shortcut to their understanding of, like, okay, I always thought that dental implants, you had to do this, and this. But thanks to this dentist content, I now understand that it's just this, and this is my obstacle, and this is how I navigate my obstacle. That is providing me specialized knowledge and value. But back to the relatability and vulnerability, if you openly share as a dentist, why you're serving the dental implant avatar, and you have a story to share, and you have a vulnerable story to share. Let's say that my story goes to something bad happened to my grandma or my aunt or my uncle or whatever the case may be, and they had a bad experience with dental implants, and beforehand maybe I wasn't servicing dental implants, but now I am, and it's important to do X, Y, and Z, because, like, whatever the thing is, I'm just making stuff up and literally pulling stuff out of thin air to give you concepts to understand that, like, that dentist that has stories to tell, where he's willing to get relatable, be relatable, be vulnerable. Of course, within that industry, I wouldn't have been able to just say a bunch of names. You got HIPAA laws and all types of stuff like that. But the concept was just, I'm getting vulnerable and being relatable and sharing myself as a human, and sharing stories that I've experienced. Be relatable, be vulnerable, talk about your challenges, talk about your journey, bring people on your journey of whatever it is that you're doing, whatever it is that you're accomplishing, whatever it is that you're building. Just, that's a form of being vulnerable and being relatable. So again, perfection is unrelatable. People don't just follow experts. So you don't want to position yourself, when you're looking to engineer this influence for your brand, you don't want to just position yourself as just only just a source of information. You're also a human. So give your audience things to connect with, and you will create more results. So back to that example with that dentist, the dentist that is doing that over the dentist that is only just being at that expert stage. That dentist that I talked about that just opened up a practice, even if they're brand new and there's somebody that's super duper expert and they put out content every now and then, it's just the scientific mumbo jumbo speaking to the audience. That new dentist with the local practice, they can actually go out and create more value in the market and actually start to take more market share from that person that maybe been in the game for much longer than them, just because of what they're doing to engineer influence. Granted, if they had a hungry market, which remember, we will be talking about hungry market in video 2. Now, next, I have defined enemy. Now, this does kind of go hand in hand with stand for something, but it is different. So think of, whenever I say defined enemy, you want to think of like us versus them. So defined enemy, I'm gonna pop this up on the screen here. Read my note off to you. Every movement needs an opposing force to push against. This could be a mainstream belief that's misleading people, an industry scam, or an outdated mindset that holds people back, right? Whenever you think about the defined enemy, the us versus them, so going back to the point of like, what do you stand for, right? But then the reason why these can end up aligning with each other in terms of what you stand for, like you have a hard position on something, but like if you were to combine like your hard core positions, like combine all the different positions you have, the things that you stand for, and then tie it into like ultimately like what are you against? Like what is the thing that like you're pushing against? For example, Dave Ramsey, debt free versus credit.
Sounds like a dumb question. I have debit cards.
He's straight just debt free. He doesn't like using credit. He just believes in people saving money. He wants people to save their way to wealth. He doesn't really believe in taking risks. He doesn't believe in anything that is out of the norm. And he believes that debt keeps you broke. He wants you to cut up all credit cards, never use credit cards, and take control of your finances. So his us versus them is like debt free versus people who go and use credit. He hates credit, right? Perfect example there. Or Tesla, or actually, let me use Elon Musk because we're talking about personal brands here. So Elon Musk, Tesla versus traditional cars. His whole spiel about oil and whatever he has about the economy, so forth and so on. I know Elon Musk is a hot topic across a number of things right now, but I'm not even talking about like his whole new whatever. I'm not into politics, but whatever he's doing within the whole politics stuff. But I'm talking about specifically like Elon Musk, Tesla, electric, energy efficient versus traditional cars, and all of the stuff that traditional cars and all the problems the world is causing with traditional cars, right? Maybe you've heard of the book 4-Hour Workbook by Tim Ferriss. Perfect example, Tim Ferriss had the 4-hour work week versus the traditional 9-to-5 grind. Perfect example there with Tim Ferriss. Again, us versus them. Let me see what else I got for you example wise. High ticket, people who talk about high ticket, selling high ticket versus low ticket. Like you notice that's a great one, because reason I'm laughing because I'm thinking about my recent video that I actually put out where it was called Do Webinars Work in 2025? And I was talking about how people say webinars are dead, and like most of the time, like I talk about a number of things in that video, but most of the time people who are telling you webinars are dead is more than likely because they're trying to say something else, or they flat out just didn't know what they were doing whenever they were implementing webinars, so forth and so on. I broke down some stuff there, but notice how that was still us, like a us versus them. Not what I said per se, but the people who say webinars are dead and most of the time they're trying to sell you something else. Like that is an intentional tactic because they want to position whatever the thing is that they do as superior. So again, us versus them concept. AI powered solutions versus the traditional way of doing things, like us versus them. Direct response marketing versus brand awareness campaigns. All right, so that's enough examples there, but notice those are all movements where those movements can align with an actual brand. Like, so think of it in terms of like, again, you don't really have to be polarizing. Like I can go, or another example that I wanted to touch on is like, the whole tax strategist that takes a like it's us versus the IRS. Like polarizing would be the IRS is scamming, they're robbing, they're criminals, they're the biggest criminals in America is the IRS. And like if somebody took that approach as a tax strategist, granted that's super duper polarizing, but that's a perfect example of us versus them. And the people who are whoever it is that they're serving, the business owners that are feeling like they're getting robbed by the IRS, that haven't figured out how to lower their tax bill and so forth and so on, like that is a message that they're going to connect with people and resonate with people who are putting out, you know, that message. But granted, you know, this is just one component out of the 8 components, but just think of it in terms of like, you got the hard position, but then what do you chalk it up to? So if you were to do an exercise and kind of write down all the different things that you stand for, and you could literally go to ChatGPT and brainstorm some ideas, like how would you compile, like these are all the things that I stand for with my brand. I want to implement this, the defined enemy. How would I define my enemy based upon these core things that I stand for? You could literally use AI to help you identify that, because the core thing that I want you to understand is just the 8 components that you need to have to set yourself up for success, to build the most influential engine everything possible that you can for your actual personal brand or for your business if somebody else is the face of your personal brand. And this is one of the core components. So let's go ahead and go on to the next topic here. All right, we got character archetype. So there's a number of different ways that I can go with character archetype. And real quick pre-frame here, I really don't want you to overcomplicate this process or think, again, remember just the gist of this whole video is I'm showing you the 8 main core components to ultimately understand like all this stuff that happens. This is a formulaic process. This isn't like, if you want to create this influence at the highest level, it doesn't have to be an accident. There's actually a formula to it, right? So character archetype. What I'm going to do is, well, first, at the end of the day, it's how you show up and connect with your audience. And what I'm about to break down, I want you to like, don't box yourself into just one thing. Understand like the 4 different types that I'm going to explain. And there's a number of different variations of types, but the core at the end of the day is these 4 what I'm breaking down. But I want you to understand that like at the end of the day, this is for you to own your style of how you present yourself and how you show up and connect with your audience. And then you want to make it your own brand, meaning you want to make sure that it aligns with your product, your service, or solution, and aligns with you as a personal brand. So let's start off with teacher. So teacher, this is like expert, educator, like you've mastered something. You put your 10,000 hours in. Let me talk to you about the traditional like teacher status, where there's already a preconceived notion based upon the status that you hit. Would be example, a lawyer. If somebody is a lawyer, you know, the status, that the work that they put in to become a lawyer, and they have that particular credential where they are a lawyer, they already have that, like they already adopt that preconceived notion of like that expert master level just from being there. Same thing if you are a doctor, or you are a dentist, or you are just anything. I'm speaking to more the traditional model, and then we'll also talk about like, that's basically the more formal model of education. We'll also talk about the informal. If you're in the formal space and you're at a high status level like that, you carry that whether you want to carry it or not, right? But you can still fall within one of the other buckets, but that's just one thing to be mindful of. So now let's go to informal. Informal is like just from like you've created a massive, as you see, like this next topic here is proof. So what I was about to mention here is you've created, like you have verifiable proof of massive success in whatever the thing it is you do online. Maybe back to that real estate example, you got 100 doors, you got 1,000 doors, or whatever it is. I don't want to veer off and just start going and talking about a bunch of examples, but just understand that like the teacher level, you're at that mastery position. Now, documenting, what this would be is like you're in the trenches, you're actively doing the thing that your audience like wants to do, and you're going to be appealing and connecting to your audience in a way where they can see themselves within you, and you're bringing them on along a journey. Versus at that teacher status, like you're at the top, like you're at the top, you master it. You're not necessarily bringing them on a journey with you. Although there could be components of bringing them on a journey depending on what the goals and what the mission is of the actual teacher, but just it's not so much a dynamic where it's like you're actually in the trenches building, and then next you know, like you're starting to attract people and they want to buy into whatever it is that you offer. Because going back to that example I mentioned earlier, whenever we were talking about specialized knowledge, and I was talking about, I said A to D, I really should have said on a spectrum of 1 to 10, but on that A to D example, you know, if you're at stage D and somebody is at stage A, and you can help them go from A to D, and you're documenting they've seen you grow from A to B to C to D to E, and you're still growing, you're growing all the way up to level 10. Well, through documenting that journey, you're actively learning and you're sharing your journey in real time. People are going to connect with you in that capacity, and that's a perfect example there. If like, is that fitting? Is that how you actually want to show up online? Is that how you want to connect with your audience? Or do you want to connect with your audience where you're providing them value? You're at the teacher status, and you're always simplifying complex concepts within your particular industry and helping them through your content and the way that you show up and connect with them. So you got teacher, you got documenting. Now, the visionary innovator, that's more so like, think of that more so like a thought leader. Like you're introducing a new way of thinking. You're challenging the status quo. That's like fitting there. And the reason why earlier I was saying like on the teacher, like there could be scenarios where like maybe you fall within a number of buckets. Let's say that there was a doctor, like there's literally actually doctor personal brands that's out there like this. Let's say that there was a doctor, they have that preconceived notion of the teacher status, but they're coming back down and they want to reach and connect with the audience in a different capacity, and they're challenging the status quo of even their own industry, because they have their visionary innovator. They have 2 character archetypes, and that brings me to the thing where you can actually have multiple character archetypes depending on where you are with your journey. I just want you to understand this concept, but you don't even need to lock in and figure this out. Like that's about to the at the beginning of this video, I was like, you don't necessarily need all of these, but just understand them. So then that way you understand like what the components that you can be working towards to build and make sure you're implementing your own way. And then you have accidental authority, which an example here would be like, this was never a part of the plan. You didn't set out to be any form of expert and like leverage your specialized knowledge in the way that you're leveraging your specialized knowledge, but your results just spoke for themselves and people started connecting with you because your results were just so good and people trust you because of all the real world proof that you actually have shown just through yourself and actually putting that out into the market, right? And like people call this role, like there's a number, like I said in the beginning of this when I started breaking down character archetype, like there's a number of different ways that I could have went with it because there's also a number of different archetypes, but they all at a base level they all fall within like this right here. People call that accidental authority, like the reluctant hero, where it's more like a not more like a nonchalant type of vibe because like you just learn to feel like, man, I would be doing a disservice if I didn't actually come out and help my audience in the different ways that I can help my audience and so forth and so on. But this was never a part of the plan. My plan was this, and then this just happened. Like that's the accidental authority. At the end of the day, again, you just want to like think of like what's your strength, whatever feels most natural to you, that's what you want to do. And again, you can be fluid. Like this is going to change over your journey as you go through, your journey of building out your personal brand. But just understand this is something that it is always included. You're always going to see somebody in one of these positions. And as they build out the personal brand. All right, next we have proof. So people don't just want claims, they want evidence. So we got all these different things that we broke down. We broke down specialized knowledge and, all the different things that and you solve people's problems and so forth and so on. And you're talking about all the different things that you can do and all the value that you can provide to the world, right? We got our backstory. We're sharing where we were and where we are now. And there's all the in between, the gaps that we feel through our story. We got a hard position. We stand for something. We got relatability, vulnerability. We got our enemy. We got our archetype. But if we don't have any evidence of none of the stuff that we say we do, then this is a massive one where we're really just losing trust. We can have all of this. This can be as captivating as possible. And crazy thing is, there's people out there that will still get results and actually get customers just because, remember at the beginning of this video, I actually said, like, you don't really need all 8 of these components because think about it. Think about the person who's new in the space. And they're like, man, I don't have any proof yet, but yet they're still out and they still are able to go out and create some success. But most of the time, the ones that are able to create success in the most streamlined way, they have that relatability and vulnerability where they talk about like they themselves are the proof. Because remember, the first thing that you got to have is specialized knowledge. So if you're watching this video and you're like, man, I don't really have any evidence, meaning I don't have any success stories or case studies or testimonials or whatever the thing it is that you do, think like you are the proof. At that point, you are the proof. And then you want to share, like, let's just say, for example, going back, keep using that real estate example. If I got 100 doors, but I don't have a single student that I work with, I'm the proof. Show that like I should be able to be in my properties. I should literally be able to go in. Of course, we're not revealing your private information. I should be able to go show deeds of properties I own. I should show like I'm in the game. I should be able to show as much proof as possible to ultimately build that trust and cultivate with my audience. So just think about proof. There's so many different ways to implement proof. Of course, if you're getting people results, like, have them share, like there's video reviews, there's written reviews, there's DMs, there's, all the different ways that people can provide proof that ultimately, further provides proof of all this stuff that we're doing here. But like I was saying, like even without all these components, like it still works. Like, but if you have all 8 components, you're set up in a much better, much stronger situation. Then last but not least, we have our transformation promise. At the core of every attractive character, this building out this influential engine is a clear transformation they deliver. So this goes really back to like the specialized knowledge. People follow those who can solve their problems and provide a shortcut to success. This right here, which I have an arrow down here actually because it goes right into the transformation promise is going right into our hungry market. But this is conceptually like, what do you do? Like, what can you help people solve? Like, what is the transformation? And like I was talking about at the very beginning of this video, like, remember, you are the bridge between getting somebody from where they are now to where they want to go. At the very base level, that's really it. Like, what do you do? And if you're still working on this and you're building this out for yourself, and you have specialized knowledge and you're trying to figure out like what do I want to go and help the market with that I can serve. And we're going to be talking about hungry market in the next video. Well, you need to be clear on identifying like, what can you help somebody do? What result can you help somebody do? Like, think of yourself as you are a solution expert. Like you're solving people's problems and you want to get real clear on the transformation that you deliver. And that is one thing that all successful faces of brands, they cover all 8 of these core components. So that's it for this video. Those are the 8 core components that we definitely want to make sure that we implement whenever we're looking to build and engineer influence for our personal brand. And if at the time that you're watching this, you don't yet see the next video where we're going to be going over how to identify your hungry market, then don't worry, it's on the way. I am going to be rolling out this full 4-part video series. But as I finish each video, we're going to actually be releasing each video right away. So it's going to be a lot of value. Dive in. I highly encourage you to watch all videos and understand. Last thing that I want to leave you with is if you don't feel like, man, I don't have all of those 8 core components figured out, that's perfectly fine. Remember what I was saying through this video. You don't have to have all of them figured out. I just want you to understand the concept and understand that like influence can be created at the highest level following this formulaic process, like all of those buckets. So now that you understand them, just as you continue to build and grow your brand, just have that kind of top of mind and consider all those points. But at the same time, I do want you to be mindful of not trying to overanalyze and perfect all the 8 components in terms of identifying exactly what you need to be doing within those 8 buckets. My intention was just to really expose to you that like those 8 buckets actually exist. And more than likely, as you watch this video, you probably already identify like, okay, I'm doing a number of these things already because most people are. But my goal was just to give you like these are the things, like, so that way you can put some intentionality to it and actually understand like these are the 8 core components that every highly successful online entrepreneur that's building a brand online, like they're implementing these components in some capacity. Like a lot of times the brands and the personal brands that come on that, you know, they have their specialized knowledge, their expertise, their product solution, and we're ultimately helping them scale it up and grow it to a higher level. When they come on, those are the things that I'm analyzing and looking to see what they actually do naturally. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create and build, you know, all of the marketing assets around that. But if you don't have those components, or if you're not aware of those components, you can't actually like make them better. So I wanted you to understand that they exist, because once you implement those 8 core components, you're gonna be able to create and engineer influence, and then that's gonna be what's actually gonna attract your tribe. There's a saying, your vibe attracts your tribe, but the market that you're going after, that's why in the next video we're going to be talking about how to identify that hungry market. Because if there's a hungry market and you're following this influential process that we broke down, you're going to be able to extract the audience that relates with whatever it is that you do, what you offer, and relates with you as a brand. And you can show up and just be yourself and do what you do, and you're going to attract your audience. But it has to be a hungry market, and in order to attract the maximum amount of prospects out of that hungry market, you need to make sure that you're following this influential engine. So that's it for this video. Like, comment, subscribe. I hope you got some value out of it. If you got any questions for me, go ahead and drop it in the comment section, and I will see you in the next video of this 4-part video series. Let's dive in.